Hey, what's up? This is Antonio Neves. Welcome to Campus Live, and I'm the Director of Higher Education for about.me. And today we're really excited to join someone that I'm a friend of, I'm a fan of. It's the illustrator, it's the animator, it's Rachel Ryle. Rachel, what's going on?
Hello. How are you guys doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and all the viewers are doing good as well. We're really excited you're taking time to join us for Campus Live. If you don't know, we do Campus Live every single week. Make sure you go to campus.about.me. You can see our upcoming schedule. Coming up, we have actually one of Rachel Ryle's neighbors in the Boulder, Colorado area of Brad Feld is joining us next week. We have the author Lewis Howes of the School of Greatness, has an amazing podcast out there. We have Elaine Welteroth coming up from Teen Vogue in New York City. So this is something you want to sign up for. You do not want to miss it. Also, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit campus.about.me and you know a college student or you are a college student, go there. We have amazing resources for students they can use to excel on and off campus, from how to look great online, how to get discovered, and beyond. If you're curious who those other two people are on the screen down there right now, those are some of my About.me colleagues. That's John Callahan right there. He's rocking the controls of this video right here. And over there is Zoe Bjornson. Zoe is all about social media. She does that for the About.me brand. Those two are going to disappear right about now. But thank you so much, guys, for supporting us in this. Rachel, let's get straight into this for Campus Live. Of course, questions are going to be coming in throughout this broadcast, but I have a few set up already for you. You're an amazing animator, you're an amazing illustrator with a massive social following. First, for those people who may not be familiar with your work, how would you describe what you do?
Um, Definitely the animations that I do are just stop motion animation. So I actually started it by messing around with the Instagram app and almost taking like photo after photo after photo and streaming it into a video when they opened their video feature. So it's kind of like a stop motion animation.
So this was just an experimentation for you. Like you said, this wasn't something you were doing previously in your spare time, and an app came out, they entered a new feature. You said, hey, let's mess around and play. Is that it?
Yeah, when Instagram released their video feature, almost immediately I started thinking about how I could use it in a creative way. Because I look at Instagram as being such a creative platform where people take average photos and they like give care and attention and do these awesome filters and take time to make something awesome. But when the video feature came out, I wanted to approach it with that same kind of care and attention. So it kind of quickly evolved into capturing art, and that turned into animations.
Right. The video feature on Instagram is something I'm so like afraid of. Like I think it's easy, like you said, to take a photo, put a nice filter on it. They have like what,
Yeah.
50 million filters, but video is so unique, and you want to get it right, and you definitely have got it right. Give us an idea. What's the wide array of short animations that you've done on your site? What are some of the topics that you cover?
Um, Topics that I cover that people enjoy the most are coffee, like making coffee animations or cooking. Um, and then also I've really developed more into, over the years that I've done it, more into quick little storytellings. So I'll think of some kind of story and try to wrap it into 15 seconds and create almost like an e-card into these little short animations.
I'm curious your approach to that. So I worked in television for a long time, and I know as reporters we'd feel really challenged. Like, oh man, we only have a minute 30 seconds for this. Oh man, we only have 60 seconds. Or we only have 30 seconds for this promo to tease this old episode of Different Strokes.
Yeah.
Um, 15 seconds is not a lot of time, but how do you accomplish getting across a story in 15 seconds? And for those people who say it's not enough time, it is
Yeah.
enough time, right?
Yeah, it's challenging. I think a lot of the times I have to compromise my what I had in mind to make it as short as possible, especially now that the videos loop. I have to really play into consideration how it's going to flow into this, continuous thing. But at the same time, there's charm to keeping it short because then I don't go on this long rant of, creating something too long. But that's something I definitely am working on is creating longer pieces, but figuring out other platforms and areas to share them.
I'm curious as you think about, that constraint of 15 seconds, covering, entrepreneurship for a long time. I found that, you hear that buzzword innovation all the time. And I found that a lot of time when you cover innovation and entrepreneurship, that big breakthroughs sometimes come when you have a constraint. You don't have you don't have the right software, or you don't have the right amount of money in your bank account, or you don't have a massive team. And so, am I hearing you say that 15-second constraint in many ways has been an asset to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are maybe a handful of moments where I felt like an animation was, missed out because I didn't have more time, but the majority of my animations, I think it's a fun challenge to accommodate that short time frame. And then that's what media is these days. People don't really want to watch a long delivery. They kind of enjoy that quick, get to the point, and that's what I strive for.
Yeah, I can imagine your viewers, like, they see something that's 30 seconds long. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so long! 30 seconds. I can't.
Oh, exactly.
What am I gonna do?" Hollywood haven't taken notice because it still seems like their movies are 3 hours long, but that's a different topic. Let's go off topic for a quick second.
Okay.
Your background is on point. Those mirrors, like, come on, talk to us. That's perfect.
Yeah, I actually, a good friend of mine, Shandi, has a wall just like this, and I tried to recreate it. So it took a while to find all these mirrors, but I did it. I'm happy.
It looks just a little bit better than my background with a couple of images on the wall, but we're not going to go there. I want to rewind a little bit. So for the viewers of this right now, I've known Rachel for probably a little over 3 years now. We actually met at a business conference before. And Rachel, when I met you at that business conference, you were not doing illustrations. You were not doing animations. You were not being cited by BuzzFeed. You were not being named top artist by MTV. You were not winning Shorty Awards, all these different things. You were working in marketing and
Hmm.
branding, and working for some good brands and some apps at the time. So I'm curious if you could just give us a little bit of background about what you're doing prior to your work now as an illustrator and an animator.
Yeah, being in the neighborhood of Brad Feld in Boulder, Colorado, he definitely, real quick side note, is just someone who has completely transformed our community. And so over the last 10 years, with what their efforts have been with Techstars and getting some big companies in town, it really has opened up opportunities for people like myself who have marketing abilities and kind of social media abilities, but not necessarily app development or other things that are needed for big tech companies. So I got into the world of marketing for these startups probably about 9 years ago, 7 years ago, probably. I don't know if my dates are correct. But over the years, I've just worked with a number of different companies doing marketing for them. And as you know, with startups, you kind of take a role and you're called a marketing director, but then all of a sudden you're like head of sales, or like you're the grocery shopper, or doing whatever. So I don't think I was ever fully utilized in my marketing abilities, but I certainly was growing my marketing skills through all those different positions.
Well, so based on that, right? So when you work for a startup and you don't, yes, you're doing a variety of different things. So I'm hearing you say, no, you didn't fully get to do the one thing like in marketing or one thing in branding. You didn't do a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a benefit? And you think about a college student who's looking for that first job or that internship, would you say be hyper focused and have a specialization, or it's actually great to get in there and be responsible for a variety of things to show your skill sets?
It is so incredibly great to have a variety. I feel it sucks and it is really uncomfortable, and you're going to be going through moments where you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. I am the most bubbly girl in the world, and I was put in charge of like sales collections and contract writing and these things that were really awkward for me at a company that I worked for. And at the time, it was really frustrating. But now, it's like all of these pieces that all these roles that I was doing kind of fit the puzzle of where I am now. And now I write all my own contracts. I negotiate all my own deals. I do collections for myself if ever anyone doesn't pay, and I have confidence in that because I had those experiences. So I think that entrepreneurship is something that really caters to people growing and learning in their roles, and just totally dive into it and take advantage of it, because there's not a lot of other roles in the world that would let you be so open to learning new things and almost require you to do so.
I'm just imagining that moment when somebody owes you like a few $1,000s and you're like, I want to make some art right now, and I'm going to use this fake email address of jenny@rachelryle.com to send a collection notice.
Yeah, you
Even
know
though,
me.
oh, hey, listen, I have let's not go there. So we actually have a question coming in from online, and someone asked how on your about.me profile you mentioned that you were able to quit your day job to pursue doing the work full time. So listen, I know you didn't quit your quote unquote day job overnight. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little about the process of creating your art on Instagram and when you were able to transition and take that leap of faith to go into it full time?
Yeah. So almost immediately I started seeing a lot of traction with the art that I was posting. And originally it started with my friends, and just the way that Instagram works when people get tagged, it's just this fluid, viral nature. My following started to grow, my likes started to grow, and so within, it was 6 weeks of making my very first animation. I had been featured on TV shows. I'd been featured by Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, and it was in the 7th week that I got featured both by Instagram, Huffington Post, and BuzzFeed, and I grew almost 80,000 followers in less than 3 days. And in that moment, I was like, I think I'm onto something, and I don't want to like pass this by. So it was the 8 weeks past my first animation that I quit my day job and I opened up my own animation agency. And within the first 2 weeks of business, I signed with Adidas and Volkswagen and Gwyneth Paltrow and Urban Outfitters. And so I've been running ever since. Like, I haven't stopped ever since that 2 years ago.
Yeah, it sounds like those first contracts were with some really small brands that people
Yeah.
probably aren't familiar with. I'm not sure this outro you mentioned. Um, I tease, of course, but that's obviously a testament to the quality of your work. But also, again, people are going to, oh my goodness, she made this happen in 7 and 8 weeks. She had these contracts. But again, I'm going to go back to there was a lot of work that had taken place over the years that have built you up to get to that place. It wasn't just 7 weeks of work. It was, I would say, a full body of work, that whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. And even in that 7, 8 weeks of work, it wasn't candy and sweet. I was up till 4 a.m. every night making 3 animations a week. And that's a lot. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but for someone who's teaching themselves animation in the moment, it was a lot of power in my head to, create that much. And I think that really that is kind of why I had the success that I did so quickly, because I just dived into it and really trusted that it was going to be something. And it wasn't actually necessarily for like the knowledge that something was going to happen, but just the joy that I got out of creating something that was myself and for me. I think that life kind of blesses that in a way when people share their creativity. Like, there's no bad that can come from it. You're gonna grow regardless of if you just do it.
Yeah, I agree. It reminds me, when you talk about doing those 3 to 4 videos a day. I mean, I love when I'm talking to college students, and it's easy on social media to tweet, the hustle is real. I'm grinding. And I remind students all the time, if you see someone tweet that, most people I know who are really grinding, who are really hustling, like you are now, they don't have time to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because they're making a video, they're making multiple videos, they're getting collections, they're invoicing. I mean, they're doing so many different things. Hey,
Yeah.
let's get to another question that's coming in from online, and the person again, references that on your about.me page, about.me/Rachel Ryle, you reference that you're self-taught. I'm guessing a lot of people in a million years, when they look at your animations on it, on Instagram and YouTube and beyond, again, Instagram, what, nearly 500,000 followers and tens of thousands on YouTube, when they look at that, they probably would not guess that you are self-taught. Can you just, I guess the question they're getting to is, did they go to art school or can they do what you did?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting actually being an artist. I was pretty shy about my art. I've always been an artist. I've always enjoyed creating, and I've enjoyed sharing it kind of privately with friends. But I was never really proud of my art style. I felt it was very amateur and kind of quirky and immature. And so, you know, looking back on my very first animations, I still kind of view them in this, they were really rough around the edges, but I think that there is appeal to that where it wasn't, and I don't still think it is perfect, but when you just put your art out there, no matter what stage it's in, I feel like I'm rambling, but it really allows for that kind of support that you need as an artist, especially in this day and age in social media, to kind of get the encouragement that you need to continue pushing into it and growing it and strengthening it. So it was a really freeing thing for me in the last 2 years to now call myself an artist and proudly, you know, create what I'm creating. And it's really the support of the followers and my friends and my fans and my family who have pushed me to continue putting into it. So yeah, I think that everyone has this level of creativity to share. Maybe it's not drawings like I do, or you know, knitting like Antonio does, or whatever he does, but that just like take the time to put it out there, regardless if you have an education in it or not, because it's worth it.
Yeah, my knitting game is off the chain. That's a really great answer. Like, yeah, I think you're right. We do come alive when we share our art and we hide it. I think when we repress our art, it comes out crazy somewhere else in our
Yeah.
life when we repress it. There's crazy that's going to come out if you don't let your art get out. We have a question coming in from San Francisco. Oh, it's good. That's a really good question that I want to know the answer to as well. She wants to know, do you have some cool creative blogs that you read?
Oh, Lord, this is the embarrassing thing about me. I don't read very much. I get inspired a lot by Pinterest. I think that, yeah, I really, my inspiration comes from visually. If I see a barista making a really cool latte, I'll take a picture of it, and that will be something I try to animate. Um, and so, yeah, I wish that I actually had some more um, destinations to go to, but there are certainly artists I look up to, and I follow their Instagrams for inspiration, or I even reach out to them and bounce off ideas just to get their chime in, and that's kind of like my blog.
Yeah, there's a plethora, of course, and you'll get sucked into Pinterest with all the amazing artists and imagery there. And of
Yeah,
course, as you're aware, amazing artists like yourself are all over about.me, and we feature them on the blog at the main blog at blog.about.me. Tons of artists on there. We have a question coming in from, looks like Brooklyn, New York, from another artist who is Amber Ray. I believe it's about.me/Hey Amber Ray. And Rachel, she wants to know, how did you go about finding your artistic voice? I mean, if someone looks at your work, you do have a voice. I mean, there are some consistent themes that we see. So how would you say you went about finding your voice and slash trajectory?
First of all, hey Amber Ray, I love your hair. It's beautiful, and I'm always jealous of it. Second of all, I think that in what I create, the voice that I want to have is to bring people joy and to inspire people to create. So I think that a lot of my work, like that's kind of the undertoned approach that I'm taking, is that 40 hours, not really, 20 to 30 hours that it takes me to come up with an animation and animate it and edit it and post it. Um, I'm overjoyed that 15 seconds of that is going to impact someone's day to either bring a smile or make them wonder if they can create something similar or of their own. So I would imagine that that's kind of the voice that I aspire to have, and I hope that I'm succeeding with it.
during those many, many hours that it takes to create that joy for people? Are you like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, sometimes I listen to Adam Lambert's song, "What do they want from me?" over and over, and I get rid of that feeling. But yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of work.
And of course, you get so much, as you mentioned earlier, so much support from the community on Instagram, YouTube, etc. Can you talk briefly about that? I think that's a good topic. Everyone they want more followers. How do I get more followers? How do I get that verified blue check mark next to my name? All that kind of fun stuff. For those people who do want to build a community and they want to build it organically, what can you suggest? Forget about, listen, getting to 500,000 people on Instagram like you. Most people, you're not going to get there. I hope you can get 2,000. But can you talk about organically building a community? And last thing I'll say is, I don't think you've ever asked your community for anything. You've only given to your community. Even when you've been up for awards and different things, you never said, hey, can you do X or Y for me? So organically building a community, how have you done that?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Um, I really feel like the organic approach is to like find the core in yourself of why you're actually doing it and why you're why you're creating what you're creating or putting effort into it. And I honestly think, sadly, if that is your motivation, that I want 1 million followers, then people are going to pick up on that and it may not resonate as well. But for me, in just the joy that I get from the fact that I can even call this my job, or the fact that I can even animate, and is crazy to me. Not to say the talent is crazy. I'm just saying it's a really cool thing that this path has opened up. And so the joy that I'm getting, I think people feel that, and that's why they want to support it, and that's why they want to, follow my journey, because I'm not trying to push anything on them, and I'm almost just allowing them to celebrate the moment with me and experience what's in my head through my creations.
Yeah, I think I can tell when someone is desperate for followers when they use a hashtag like from some conference or an event that I know they're not attending. They use like a trending hashtag that has nothing to do with their post that they share. It just makes me laugh out loud because I've done it before. It doesn't work. The community will get at you. Um, let's do this. As you mentioned earlier, you've transitioned from, not transitioned, of course, you create amazing art for the various channels you have with, what's the name of your company again? Is it Stop?
Don't Stop Motion.
Don'tStopMotion.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't Stop Motion. So you create amazing animations that goes on Instagram, YouTube, and beyond. You've also started now to work for some amazing brands. You mentioned some of those earlier, from Gwyneth Paltrow to Adidas and to Starbucks, and we can go on and on. For you, is it this? This may be a tough question for you to answer. When you're getting paid to do it, how different of a process is it for you working with brands? Is it still the same joy? Do they give you full creative control on that, or is it? Well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it the same process for you, the same enjoyment when you're working for a brand and getting paid?
Getting paid. Sorry. Yeah, you know what? It's actually it taps into an entirely different side. There is the excitement and the strength that I have in knowing my audience, and almost challenged by how I can create something for a brand that resonates with my audience and that doesn't feel like an ad. And so at the end of it, that both the brand will be happy because they have a genuine, organic piece of art from me that doesn't feel forced, and then my audience is equally as kind of excited by it and not, bombarded with the whatever, like an ad. And so I think actually, like, with the brands that I work with, I'm really there. It reaches this part of my heart that I'm really happy that I'm able to create something. That's the only time that I create animations and I get direct feedback of if someone's happy with it, other than getting a like on, getting comments and getting likes on Instagram. I just think that I really am satisfied when I can make a brand happy. And so, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does 100%. Let's do two last questions. You're based in Boulder, Colorado. Of course, your work takes you to a variety of places from New York to LA and beyond, but I guess Boulder is a home base for you. A lot
Mhm.
of people think that, and someone mentioned this earlier in a question, they have to be in New York City, they have to be in Berlin, these alleged meccas of art and creativity. What have you found being in Boulder, Colorado, which is obviously a great community, but what have you found that that's allowed for you that maybe if you lived in New York City full time or one of these cliche artistic cities would not allow?
That's such an interesting question right now in my life because I'm kind of on that defense of like, should I be in a bigger city? And the truth is that I went out to New York in the spring. I got an art studio and rented an apartment, and it was awesome. But at the same time, I've never felt so free when I got back to Boulder, Colorado, in the sense of like having this freedom of space to just create. And I definitely gain inspiration from traveling and from cities and the people in New York. But I found myself really being exhausted, and it's kind of a charming thing to have a slow pace town that you're able to really like be productive in and be creative in. But I do think that those bigger, cities definitely are a requirement to gain inspiration, at least for me. Yeah,
I think
that's
that's a
what I
great
think.
answer. I think about I just love that we can be anywhere nowadays. We have the tools, we have the accessibility of whether it be YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, to be anywhere, still create great content, blogs, etc. We have communities like about.me where you can connect with other people. I think back to before we get to our last question, the Lumineers. Huge band. They were, I believe, in New York City for a long time. Oddly enough, they did not break until they moved the band to Denver. Right? There's so much noise in these cities. Like, there's so much, and when you get to different markets, maybe
Mhm.
there's less noise, and people hear you more, and you're more attractive. But your work would shine whether you're in Shanghai, Berlin, New York City, or wherever, because you're that talented.
Yeah.
This can be our last question,
Okay.
and someone out there in our audience asked this, and I hate to ask this question. What's your social security number? Just kidding. Um, uh, I hate to ask this question because it gives off the energy that, well, the question is what's next. And the reason why I hate to ask what's next for Rachel Ryle and your animations is because you're doing amazing work right now. And we always ask people, so what's next down the road? And you're like, yo, I'm doing what I'm doing. This is what I love. But as you think about 2015, these last 4 months of the year and on to 2016, do you foresee any changes in what you're doing, pulling back, going bigger? What can we look for from Rachel Ryle?
Yeah, I definitely think kind of what we were talking about earlier, just the opportunities to create longer pieces. I have conversations going for some opportunities in Hollywood for some big screen opportunities, which would be amazing. I've talked to a number of bands about music videos. I'm just kind of feeling out the right one. And then really just I want to strengthen a lot of my artistic abilities. So focusing more too on illustrations and my storytelling abilities. I've been thinking about doing a book, so that might be in the future, but we'll see.
Well, listen, I thought you were going to start voguing earlier when you mentioned Hollywood, but you're talking about the big screen. But listen, the work that you do, 100%, it does bring joy to everyone. Of course, the about.me community, your viewers on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and beyond. And so we just really want to say thank you for creating the art to, whether it's a good day or a bad day, to give us an opportunity to push pause and to appreciate that. Not everyone knows that sometimes those works of art takes 20 to 30 plus hours. So much appreciation to you for what you create. All you
Thanks.
viewers out there who watch this, thank you so much for joining us for Campus Live. Make sure you go to campus.about.me for great content for college students to help them get discovered, apply to become a campus fave, to get national attention, and get awesome perks from some of our partners out there. We have some great upcoming episodes of Campus Live coming up with Brad Feld, Lewis Howes, Elaine Welteroth from Teen Vogue. So go to campus.about.me, get all that information. Rachel Ryle, about.me/Rachel Ryle. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see all of you later on. Peace.
Bye.